Hello there, and welcome to my channel. I have been doing some creative writing of late for the Fallout universe, and I wanted to write something about the Enclave, and I wanted to write something about my favourite state, which is Montana. Obviously, by my accent, you can tell that I am not an American citizen, but you can tell from what I've just said that I've got an appreciation for the Enclave and for the Fallout game. So I want to make sure that you realise that this is not a mod or a video game showcase. I'm taking a break from video games right now, so I just thought I'd write something. And for each episode of this, I will be reading about 1,000 words per episode of what I have wrote. This is what I have wrote. I have not stolen it from any Wikipedia page. You know how like those people are like stealing stuff and then just stealing images and then putting a voice over it and then they make like loads of money. I'm not doing that. This is completely my stuff, but I am using the intellectual property of the Fallout universe. But yeah, well, I hope you like it, or probably no one's going to watch this. So anyway, I'll still be editing this. I don't exactly know what I'll be keeping in and out. I've got 1,100 words so far, but I will be. I'll probably continue this if people watch, but I doubt anyone's going to watch this except for my friends. Hello, my friends. If you're watching, if you bother to watch. But anyway, I've got a couple of chapters planned. I've got 1,000 words per stage, and this is the first stage done. And so it begins after the fall of Raven Rock. Some of the dialogue, some of the text might be a bit weird, so give me a time, and I'll probably see that myself, and I'll probably correct it, or so don't judge too harsh. Then again, this is the internet, so what can you do? Alright, so move my mic closer. Right, I'm not going to do any funny voices for like the dialogue. I'm not going to go or like try to do a woman's voice. I'm not even going to bother trying that. Okay, so I'm just going to get to it. It's 3 minutes in already, so here goes nothing. Darkness spawned across the vast landscape of open ash and fire. A volcano of concrete and black smoke arose from a mountain ordained in an already scorched preset. The camouflaged it with the world around. A flock of birds chased the skies as the harrowing mountains spewed with explosive fury, with fire and rock. The flock of birds, vertibirds, few in number, the mountain that spewed hell on earth like a raging volcano emitting fury, Raven Rock, the last bastion of the Enclave's few remaining bunkers built by an elite organization before an ancient forgotten war that spawned a far-reaching cataclysm upon the earth. Steel men loitered the landscape, and the birds that flew suddenly caught fire except for one. Dazzling shards of red fire flew into the sky. Smouldering the vertebrates into molten metal as they stalled and dropped as if they truly were birds that had been shot from a dusty mist sky. One escaped, the steel soldiers below, but damaged and with fuel enough for only a few hours. Hours passed that seemed like years over the vast American wildscape of nightmares and untold horrors that would await the crew below of the lone vertibird that escaped. A lone officer inside a shell of steel, his uniform still dusty from the concrete and rubble that he had just escaped from prior a few hours ago. Surrounded he was by perhaps the last of Sigma's squad. Although the other half of the squad had been reassigned to the McCarthy Air Force Base in Washington, D.C. "How much further until we hit touchdown, pilot?" he asked with authority, as he looked towards the pilot who commanded the lone bird in the cockpit. "Probably a good hour or so, sir," she spoke, while fixated on the navigating the bird, preferably in the direction of open, clear landscapes and terrain, with good spaces for an emergency landing if such a dire need would arise. However, this was Midwest country now, and the only thing that stands out are the Harty Mountains, dense forests, and ominous cracked-earthed canyons. Open plains or even a lone field would be considered a luxury to a pilot that was expecting a dire outcome. All the crew knew an outcome could come sooner than late. The fuel was almost empty and fire started spewing like the fire from an angry roaring dragon from one of the engines that barely put out any exerted force. Perhaps the lack of fuel was a good omen, as surely it would be better to crash rather than to crash and explode, or by the sounds of the grinding steel, roaring fires, and the sound of hell itself, explode right there and then. A valley then appeared. Hadrian's Valley it was called. The Enclave had a facility there, however it was unmanned and maintained an automated operation presence in the area since Enclave both eastern and western forces were focused on the cities of San Francisco, Los Angeles and Washington D.C., and never fixated a true intent on the wild state of Montana, Oregon, or any of the Midwest territories. These areas... Sorry, I'm just doing some editing. These areas lacked any critical means of industrial production, minerals, or outright technology that may or may not have already been scavenged. Not to mention that the overwhelming force of the degenerate, filthy, mutant scum and their tribes in the area made an expenditure of resources and manpower a likely outcome, and the overall satisfaction of gaining anything if not naught an unwanted waste. The lieutenant gathered his thoughts and looked around. He saw the confidence of his men dwindle and the fright in their eyes. Without hesitation he perked up and spoke with authority and outright confidence, even as smoke started to enter the canopy. "Fear not, men. We are the remnants of the United States Army. We are the order from the chaos, and we have the goddamn held our own for more than 200 years. For any bunch of commie tech hoarders to stop us now, never forget they may have the day, but with patience we will have the war." The words resonated, and the men and women's spirits heightened even for a short while. Out of flame and out of patience, finally the vertebrate's engines caught a fuel line and exploded in fury. Sorry, I didn't. The bird started to fall from the sky in an outright dance of technology versus nature as it stumbled towards the clouds, and the roaring green of earth being the only visual from the cockpit. "Hang on, this will not be a so comfortable landing," shouted as if screaming it out loud and clear to the rest of the squadron. Darkness fell, and so did the outside. The radio went silent after a few hours. Either the radio died with the crash, or any hope of extraction from Enclave forces seemed elusive in mind. For had the Enclave been destroyed? No one knows. No one knows. Sorry, Eden. Whirlwinds of confusion engulfed the lieutenant. The pilot was dead. So too were perhaps a half of what remained of Sigma Squad. Only the lieutenant, only thanks to the advanced fibers in his uniform, managed to save him from an exotic wound of flying shards of steel that screamed inside the canopy like shards of glass when the aircraft impacted with the terrain. 5 of the 9 survived the crash. A man who forgot his power suit helmet inside the Raven Rock Armory became an uneasy sight to the rest of the squad, as his head caved in from the impact between the steel shell of the aircraft. Not to mention the steel bar that exotically placed itself into his eyes, wedging itself in a bloody terror deep into his skull. The other 2 did not have XO2 power armor equipped and were not adorned with anti-kinetic fatigues, but wore standard clothing that offered no protection from kinetic shock. This resulted in all that had remained of them were the mangled corpses of shredded meat that had been crushed as the tail section had compacted with them at the epicenter. The rest survived with their power armor in check, and the ominous road to the Montana facility had begun. So that was the end of stage 1, and that was the 1,000 words. I'll be writing the rest. Probably no one's going to watch this or read this, listen to this, except for my friends probably, hopefully. Even then, that's a gamble. But I thought I'd put it out there, you know. Why not? Probably regret it later, but yeah. So thank you for watching. I wouldn't ask you to subscribe because I'm not really putting content out there, but I do appreciate likes. You can dislike it as well, because I'd rather, like, I'll use the likes and the dislikes to tell if you enjoyed it or if you hated it. I might disable comments because really comments on YouTube aren't really helpful. Usually it's people just fighting or, you know, just like, I don't know. I might have comments, it depends. I've never really seen any productive contribution to comments. I don't really care for like positive reinforcement, you know, like people telling me that, oh, it's great and that. I don't bother, you know, if I do something, I'll do it. But, you know, I might leave the comments open. So yeah, enough about me rambling. I'll just end it here and thank you again for having the patience to listen to this for about 30 minutes, going on to 14. Thank you very much, and for me, good night.